Today's topic, quite frankly, it brings me no joy to report this, ladies and gentlemen. The babyification of America is underway. It's actually quite far along. So, when I say babyification of America, what I'm really referring to is the fact that while we do have free speech, sure, and we have, there's no secret police except for ICE that are gonna that are gonna come break down your door for something you posted on the internet, right? We at least have that. But what we don't have is adult speech. I'm sure everyone watching has noticed when you look at the ways that people used to communicate to one another, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, the ways that our institutions communicated to us, our education institutions, our government institutions, the ways that companies, advertisers, all of these people, the way that they have communicated to us has been slowly, it's been distilling itself down to something more powerful. And the reason it's more powerful is because the most important thing that you need to control people is is a lack of options. You need to give people less options, less potential. When you control what people are able to say, even when you're not controlling necessarily, oh, you can't say this about that, but you're controlling how they're able to say it, you can have a great impact on the overall outcomes of what people are versus aren't saying. A great example of this is our government and our Epstein files. Donald Trump is a what? Say it with me now. He is a. I'm not gonna say it because it's gonna fucking demonetize. Well, I said fuck. Donald Trump is a rapist. Okay, that's what he is. He is a nasty, sick old man. He's a disgusting man. He's been disgusting his whole life. He's a bad person. But I'm not able to talk about that on TikTok. I'm not able to talk about that on Instagram. I'm not able to speak freely about the things that are happening, and that is because America, as a country, is we're a train wheels country. We're a country that believes the best way to protect the youth and to raise good children is to close them off from the outside world, close everyone off from everything that could challenge them and that could make them scared or emotional or anything like that. And it's silly. It's very silly because you can't grow that way. You'll never grow that way. And so when it comes, I mean, and that's just how it comes to social media. That's just one aspect of it is like the censorship of curse words and things like that. But the other dimension of it is the actual convergence of language towards simpler, more basic types of messages and things like that. Now that is a whole different beast, and it's actually much scarier. So I mean, just think about the way. So one thing, here's one example I'll give. It's actually a great example. Yeah, I wonder why. It's a great example. The thing that you want to think about is the way that Donald Trump answers questions when it comes to war. When Donald Trump is asked, what are you going to do in this war? Why are we going to war? What are your options? What are you looking at? What are you not looking at? What is off the table? What isn't? He goes, you expect me to answer that? Why would I tell you? Why would I tell you? You're going to tell the Iranians. You're going to tell them and they're going to run. What the fuck? That is an American reporter asking the president, the commander-in-chief, the most powerful person on the planet, a very simple question. You're at war. What will the war look like? And he just goes, I'm not going to tell you. It's not your business. What the fuck? What the fuck? That's not cool, right? But that is the babyification of America right there. That is the reduction of the things that we're allowed to think, say, believe. And it's not just happening. Well, no. I mean, it's happening everywhere. But what happens is the way that it's able to spread, how it is if you ask me, is that people respond to the environment in which that they find themselves in. And so Democrats, I'm not going to talk about Democrats. So the media, as a result of having to deal with a political class in the Republicans and the Democrats as well, in the Republicans that have abandoned complex messaging and just explaining themselves and facts and reason, arguments and all those things, in responding to a political class that's completely abandoned that, the media is also going, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? I mean, it's a very simple answer. Not that shit. Just keep talking. Use big words, bro. Like we have books. People go to college. They go to these institutions to learn and better themselves. We claim, but then somehow we get out of it, and now we have to talk like 6-year-olds. It's ridiculous. And here's the final aspect. So, I mean, I talked about social media censorship of curse words in particular. That's one. And then there's like the trickle down, like race to the bottom of our political communication. But another dimension of this as well that I want to consider, I've lost my train of thought. I'm going to have to pause this video. It's going to resume very embarrassingly. Hopefully not too many seconds later. You got it. So now the third aspect of this, that is what makes it the most terrifying of all, is the phenomenon of everybody is 9 years old or everybody's 12 years old. Now I'm sure anyone involved in politics or who's active online and things like that has heard of this already. And I'm sure there's lots of people who haven't as well. But the idea that everyone is 12 years old really just comes from the fact I mean, it's a recognition of the exact things that I'm talking about, that our country is being babied down. But it's not just a recognition on that, in terms of what I'm talking about, which is social media censoring things, and then our political class, or our political and media class, getting more and more simplistic with their messaging. They're talking about the actual people. They're talking about the voters. They're talking about the people that they argue with on social media. People are losing their capacity to make arguments, to understand arguments, engage with arguments, to do all the basic things that make society and economies, if you care about that, and democracies, and because those exist, to make all those things function. We're losing that in the people themselves. Now that's the most terrifying aspect of this, because what that creates the conditions for is an extremely controllable population. If the entire purpose of educating the working class in democracies was to make them more industrious, more capable of producing profits for their bosses, and to feel as if they had some investment in our political system, then the opposite is the opposite. If they went from educating us because they thought it was useful for us to be educated so that everyone felt really good, then why the fuck are they no longer educating us? Why are they actively uneducating us, undereducating us? What is the goal? What is what's the end state here? Well, the end state is a society of little babies who will do as they're told and don't know how to oppose, who don't know how to vocalize their discontent, who don't know what it means to do something else. And I mean, this ties into a number of different like political beliefs of mine, like the power of a good example, for example, which is that's demonstrated with like the Soviet Union and China and Cuba and lots of other countries. But in general, just the idea that when you see somebody doing things differently, and better, you go, wait a minute, fuck, you could do better, bro. What? And then you go, okay, well, that's what I want. The goal of our politics right now is to rob people of that. Is to make people very simple. You shouldn't be simple. You shouldn't want to be simple. There's nothing. There's beauty in simplicity. As a matter of fact, there's quite a lot of beauty in simplicity. But that simplicity should manifest itself in your peace. It should not manifest itself in your political engagement. Because politics, as they exist today, while they are simple at fundamental levels, they're quite complicated in terms of how to actually effectuate change, in terms of how to act, like how things are actually done. And one example I'll bring up for this. Actually, I've started bringing up examples because I realize I feel like people, or at least some of these videos that I've made, I get some comments where people are like, oh, what are you talking about? You don't know anything. Bruh, I will mollywop your ass intellectually. Do not play with me. I have examples out the fucking ass. I've been far too devoted and committed to this politics shit. Going on a decade now, coming up in 2 years. Well, shit, look, a decade now. But, yeah. And so, fuck, what's my example of? I'm gonna have to pause the video again. Please. Well, no, I'll let it run. I'll pause it. Well, you guys will know better than I, until I rewatch this video, obviously, what I was talking about. But, I said the power of a good example. That's the last thing I remember. But they don't want you to have the power of a good example. They don't want you to be able to be the example. They don't want you to be anything. They want you to be useless, stupid, confused, misdirected, and nothing. That's what they want. So the question for all of us today is, are we going to let them have that? Yes or no? We are the youth. We are the future. Even if you're old, you got 10 more years left in this bitch, you better get on board. Because if we allow the elites, those at the top of society, to crush the humanity that has built us into what we are today, as much as I agree with many of the things that America is, we can't allow them to just turn us into cattle. I'm not down with that. I hope you're not down with that. So, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. Oh, you know what? Hold on. For the babyification of America and everyone being 9 years old, I will say one final thing. Nicholas Shirley. Nick Shirley makes me sad, like properly sad. Oh, you know what? No. I'm going to talk about this. So, yes, Nick Shirley makes me sad. Nick Shirley's a very stupid guy. It's like, it's wow. It's a bless your heart type situation. Jesus. But, better than Nick Shirley, I want to talk about Riley Namey or whatever, right? So this guy, I go to UCSB. This guy pulls up on UCSB campus about a week or two ago, right? And he's got the, trans women are men, debate me, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm like, okay, no, this is my moment. This is my time. Excuse me. I saw when Steven Crowder, the only one of you nasty little cretins who actually did this shit with his balls, although tucked, very neatly in certain little sockets. I was there for Steven Crowder. I'm not going to let, some little, baby Kirko come around and try to fuck with my college campus like that, right? And, I'm waiting while he's talking to this international student for a little bit. He's like, oh, well, I don't understand your accent, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes on this whole little N-word thing. He's like, oh, well, I can say the N-word because I'm just quoting it. And in Chinese, they say because it's a nigga, and so yeah, and that means that one. And so yeah, I'm not racist, guys. Like, So goofy. And there was this Instagram clip that, oh my god, all of my friends saw. Not just all my friends, a whole fuck ton of people who have no idea who I am. Like yeah, so many people saw this. Um, but then after that, I finally got to talk to him, and I was trying to, I was trying to pick his brain. I'm serious. I'm about it. Let's get about it, right? And it was genuinely hilarious because this man's arguments are Twitter slop. I mean, he's nothing. He's just nothing. I mean, it was ridiculous, and I felt so affirmed in my own education by that experience. But I mean, he couldn't even respond to the very basic points. We went back and forth. He was like, "Give me your definition of a woman." I was like, "Well, shit. Somebody says they're a woman. I don't know. Like what? You want me to fucking write a dissertation on what it means to be a woman? I'm not a sociologist, but I'm not doing that. But if somebody says they're a woman, they're probably a woman. I mean, that's a pretty good fucking standard. Shit, if you ask me, it's the best rule I know of." And he goes, "That's not good. Your definition includes the word in it, brother." Again, this guy is a silly little boy, and he must have been older than me as well because he didn't look. I hope he was. But, and this is 101. Oh, your definition can't include the word in it. Well, then define a chair. Go on, tell me what a chair is. What is a chair? What makes something a chair? What makes something a chair instead of not a chair? It doesn't exist because that's not how words work. That's not the purpose of words. Words are about communication. And if you can communicate the damn idea to somebody, then the word functions, okay? If I can say, that's a woman, and you go, oh, okay, and you know what that is, then I win. I don't need to have a checklist that I'm fucking listing off to prove that that's a woman. That's applicable for, maybe industrial applications or things like that, but Jesus Christ, it was silly. And then I'm like, okay, well, you give me your definition of a woman. This is XY chromosomes and was born without a penis. Okay, dude, like, you bring genetic testing to every day. As a matter of fact, tell me who's a woman in this crowd right now. You can't do it with your definition. I can do it with mine. So what are we talking about, dude? Like, that's genuinely silly as fuck. But as I mentioned, the point is for people to be silly as fuck. The point is for people not to know anything. And the point is for you to stay a baby forever. We must fight against this. Like, comment. I'm gonna start the videos with like, comment, subscribe from now on. Actually, I gotta get my clout up. I gotta make some rent. We're like, new goal is 45 views every video.